Yesterday we had said that we would take a look at the lessons from the Gita, 5 important lessons. And yesterday's lesson was, you've forgotten so soon. Intellect must be greater than the mind. Your life's activities must be guided by the intellect and not the whims and fancies of the mind. This is the first lesson that we learn. The second today that we're going to take a look at is contentment. How many of us are content? How many of us have a calm mind? We are all in varying degrees of disturbed minds, correct? It's a question of less or more. And the greater the disturbance, the less successful you are unhappy, and you never realize your potential because you are too busy trying to sort out your disturbances and stress. What disturbs you? You will say, "Oh, wife." There is a man who used to drink a lot. And I asked him, his name is Govind. I said, "Govind, why do you drink so much?" He says, "Madam, if you had a wife like mine, you would also start drinking." Or it's the boss, or it's the mother-in-law or daughter-in-law. Somebody outside you creates the disturbance, is what you believe. But the truth is that nothing in the world can disturb you, yesterday we saw, except yourself. So this contentment is also within. It has nothing to do with what you have or don't have. As long as your focus is on your little personality, your body, mind, and intellect, these 3 equipment in you will go on demanding things. So you will be in a state of discontent. The moment you shift your attention from the body, mind, and intellect to spirit, Atman within you, even temporarily when you think of Atman, your agitation ceases. The mind is that which by default focuses on 1 or 2 things that you don't have, and it, by its own choice, makes all the things that you have irrelevant because it's not looking at what you have. It's only looking at what you don't have. It is the intellect that has the capacity to shift to what you have, and then you are content. So as we said, it has nothing to do with what you have or you don't have. You could own the whole world and still be discontent. You may have nothing and be supremely content like Sudama was. Sudama was in penury and lived a life of poverty, but never did he think that he was denied anything or deprived of anything. He was always in a state of contentment. So that is why, even when he was sent on a mission to ask for help by his wife, the wife told him, "Why don't you go and ask Krishna for help? Krishna is a king there in Dwarka." And he agreed to go and ask. But just before he left, he came back and said, "But how can I go empty-handed to Krishna? He's a dear friend of mine." So even when he was sent on a mission to ask for help, he only thought of giving. Therefore, he was in the state of what you call as paripurna, totally satisfied with what he had, supremely content with whatever it is that he had. On the other hand, there is you and me, from start to finish, from birth to death, from morning to night, we're constantly thinking of what we don't have. We're always in a state of discontent. So, what we need to do is fix our attention on the higher. If you can't fix your attention on Atman, the self, at least think of something beyond you, and then you'll be content. In the 12th chapter of the Gita, Krishna enumerates 35 qualities of a bhakta. And two of these 35 qualities are: one, santushta satatam, constantly, supremely content. Tushta, content, happy. Santushta, supremely content. Satatam, always. And where is our state? Satatam asantushta. Always in a state of unrest, discontent. So, and the second word that he uses is anapeksha, free from want. When you're content, you will naturally be free from want. Because you're full of want, full of desires, gurgling in your system, you are not content. As long as that desire remains unfulfilled, you can't be in a state of rest. This does not mean that you should not aspire for more. Let's say you have a Maruti car. It's a small car. You can be content with that Maruti car and aspire for a Honda City. That's okay. But if you are discontent with a Maruti car, you will be discontent even with a Rolls Royce. So it's not, what it says is be content at the present moment. The mind must be calm at the present moment. And the intellect can visualize a better state of being and fix a goal and work towards it. That's fine. But never should you be discontent. Like Swami Ramatirtha said, if you are not happy as you are, where you are, means wherever you are, with whatever it is that you have or don't have, if you're not happy at the present moment, you will never be happy in future. So the challenge is how to be present with the present wife, how to be content with the present wife, how to be content with your present income, how to be content with whatever it is that you have right now. And then aspire for more, aspire for the moon, aspire for Atman's infinite happiness. That's fine. The Gita confers two wonderful things. One, in the second chapter he says, Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is perfection in action, dexterity of action, skill in action. So spirituality is not about retiring to the jungles and meditating there. It is not meant for people who are disqualified to live life. It is meant for people who are active, dynamic, who are perfect in action, expert, daksha. In the 12th chapter he says. But the second qualification is samatvam yoga uchyate. Equanimity of mind is yoga. Serenity of mind is yoga. How do you marry the two is the question. Then you get to that state of effortless excellence. The mind is calm, serene, tranquil, while the body is engaged in action. This we never experience. What is our experience? Whenever you are in a state of contentment, like on a Sunday morning, you're lazy, you're content, you're inactive. That is not what he's talking about. That's a state of tamas. And whenever you are active, like Monday morning, you're active, you're raring to go with activity. The motivation is discontent. The starting point of activity is discontent. What he is talking about is something we don't visualize, we have never experienced. The sattvic state, where the mind is calm and the body is intensely active. Therefore it is that Swami Ramatirtha said his definition of rest is intense work is rest. If you can't find rest in activity, you will never find it. So don't extend your weekends. Don't call the boss after a vacation and say, I'm tired after my holiday. I want to extend my leave by 3 more days. You'll never find the peace. So, Krishna was one such person. constantly active, always engaged in activity, but never was he disturbed, never was the mind agitated. And therefore it is that he was a clear thinker. When the mind is calm, the intellect is sharp, alert, clear, and actions brilliant. You see this in sport. In the Australian Open recently, you saw in the semi-finals, Roger Federer was playing Nadal. And you see these games towards the end, semi-finals and finals, are all won in the mind. What happens with Federer is the moment he's up against Nadal, the mind gets agitated. So before the match starts, he's already lost it because of a disturbance of mind. When the mind is agitated, you can't think straight, you can't see straight, and therefore you fail. This, mind you, is not taught in any school, not taught in any university, not taught by any employer. Only the Gita has it. And unfortunately, it remains in the book. So we should go home today, each one of us, and take up the challenge. How do I keep my mind calm in the midst of activity? In the thick of activity? That's the question. Next, when you're riding on a desire, you will be discontent. Rise above the desire. Your mind will be content, and amazingly, miraculously, the object of desire will come to you unsought. That's the way to live life. Life is not meant to go running after the world, chasing after objects of desire with your tongue hanging out and failing miserably. The other day, a young man came and said, I've been trying to get married for the last 5 years, and I haven't been able to get married. What do I do? I said, give up, just stop thinking of marriage. Focus on developing merit. A person with merit doesn't have to go looking for brides. He gets them by the dozens. Then the problem he has is which one to choose. So focus on other things. Focus on your work. Focus on developing merit. Don't sit there and say marriage, marriage, marriage. The wife doesn't come from the heavens. It works 100% of the time. So each one of us has a desire that has not been fulfilled. Go home and think very carefully. Just drop the desire. Rise above it. And continue working. At what? Developing merit. When you turn your back on a desire, the object of desire comes to you. You chase after a desire, the object runs away from you. Not just that, your mind will be in a state of constant discontent as long as you're riding on desire. And the whole world is chasing after desire. Even if you don't have a desire, there are ads, there are commercials on TV, you just can't escape it. So some desire or the other is planted in you, and then you go chasing after it. Just simply rise above it and see what happens. It is the mind that looks at your deficit, what you don't have, the mind sees. It is the intellect that has the capacity to focus on what you have and be content. Therefore, every morning, when you wake up, spend a few minutes on listing out. Actually, when in the beginning, sit down with a piece of paper and write down all the things that you have been blessed with. You say, I have wonderful parents, I have a lovely family, I have a home, a roof over my head, I have education, I am in good health, I have the luxury of oxygen, with or without pollution. And nowadays, tomorrow morning you can wake up and say, I am in lovely weather. It's nice and cold, right? So on and so forth. Initially, you'll find it difficult to write even 10 things because your mind is so used to looking at what you don't have. But then you find that one piece of paper is not enough. And when you look at all the things that you have, you become grateful for it. You know you have to thank someone for giving you all these precious things. You don't know who's given them. You don't know what that power is. But you know there is some divine, benevolent power that has gifted you with 100 million things. And when your heart is filled with gratitude, you can't be discontent. Then what happens is, your attention shifts to, when you're aware of all that you have, your attention shifts to, how can I serve? How may I serve you? And that's a wonderful thing to have. This irresistible desire to serve, to give, to contribute to others, instead of, how can I grab from you? Every moment of our lives, we go out into the world only to grab things for ourselves from others. So you're not concerned about anyone else, it's just me. The law is, give, you gain. Grab, you lose. Try it out. You know, when people go to the vegetable market to buy vegetables, otherwise they will go to a 5-star hotel and pay 5,000 rupees without batting an eyelid for one meal. But when they go to the vegetable market, they have to bargain. I don't understand what the psychology is. So the vegetable vendors are also smart. The richer the person is, the more he hikes his price, because he knows she will bargain and bring him down. And in the midst of this, you try it out. Tomorrow morning, even if you don't go to buy vegetables, just go and the nearest vegetable vendor and say, how much is this for? And he'll say 16 rupees a kilo. You say, 16? I won't give. What rubbish, nonsense. I will not give 16. And before you know it, see, he's answering back. He's so used to your bargaining that he says, no, impossible. I cannot bring it down and all that. I will not give it for 16. And you say, I will not take it for 16. I will give you 18. I've done it, so I know what the reaction is. And his jaw drops. He says, what? He's not sure he's heard right. And you know what he'll say? No, for you, the price is 14. If you don't believe me, try it out. You know, there was a man in many years ago who wanted to buy property for some business in Pune. So he went to a guy, old man, who was living alone in a huge property, ancestral property. But he had no money. So he went to him and said, why don't you sell your property to me and you'll be able to live comfortably for the rest of your life. And that old man, poor chap, had never sold. He was an academician, professor. He had never dealt in real estate. So every time this businessman went and made an offer, he'd go and consult his friends and say, no, I want this much more. So this businessman got completely fed up. One day he went to him and said, Uncle, you are like my father. You think about it. And for 4 days, and at the end of 4 days, you tell me how much you want for this property. And I promise you, I will give you 20% more. Then that old man again was completely taken aback. He says, why do you want to give me 20% more? He says, because to give you the confidence that I'm not taking you for a ride. This is the market price. This is what I am offering. You give me whatever your price is, and I will accept it and give 20% more. The man took it for this guy's price. So your attention should shift from profiteering to offering. Each one of us is gifted with something. And we all belong, I don't know most of you, but I can say with supreme confidence that all of us belong to the privileged class. What we enjoy, the majority of the citizens of the world don't enjoy. So what are you cribbing about is the question. What is it that you are demanding? Little more, this more, that more. It's just the attitude of grabbing that, and as long as you have this attitude of grabbing, it's a beggarly attitude to have. Live like a king. You may not have the assets of a king, but you can have the mindset of a king. Which is, a king is lordly, a king is generous, a king gives. Just give of yourself to people. Start with money. That itself is so tight-fisted. You don't want to part with anything. Then comes other things. So, from profiteering to offering, how may I offer? Because as long as you think of yourself, you will be discontent. And all of us are thinking of ourselves. That is why in the movie, The Legend of Bhagavans, produced by Robert Redford, it's a Hollywood movie, not a Bollywood movie. And it's based on a book called Gita on the Green. It's about a golfer. And the whole movie is about how do you apply the principles of Gita on the golf course. Any of you are